Okay, we're live. Going through the final day of the 2021 soccer season. It's been a long, long journey. I'm not sure if any of that was caught. Whatever. Uh, I'm on Twitter, the real _ G Warner. Have been going through a very, very long season. Very looking forward to it coming to an end as I'm looking forward to the Euros. Bad beats, they keep on coming, and I'm hoping that I can maybe get through the final day without any more ridiculous VAR decisions or late goals, but I'm sure that they're on their way. Going to go through, I made lines for each of these leagues to go through the Premier League and Ligue 1. So hope you're interested in either of those two. But right now, we'll start in England with Aston Villa hosting Chelsea, currently getting a goal and a quarter with all the juice on the Aston Villa side. Chelsea have to win this match. In pulling up the Premier League table, they are in third place with a 1-point lead on Leicester. So if they draw, that's not good enough because Leicester can win and hop them in points. It seems like goal differential is going to be a big swinger here. We'll see what ends up happening. But Aston Villa sit mid-table, can't really climb to number 10, can't fall to number 12. So there's some, I think, reasonable suspicion that they might be on the beach, that there's not a lot for them to play for. But I think trying to get Jack Grealish match fit for Euro 2020 coming up in just a couple weeks, I think that's important. And I think they want to finish on a high note, as probably all teams do. But there's probably a little more that can be valued into each of these matches to see who's really on the beach. I do think playing against Chelsea and potentially keeping them out of Champions League might be something of interest. But ultimately, getting a goal and a quarter, it's a decent number, but what that asks for is for Aston Villa to play really good defense, which they have all season, and try to create a goal. If they could score once, they're probably not going to give up 3, I would guess. Chelsea's offense has been pretty inconsistent, or you could call it weak. Timo Werner can't seem to finish any of his chances, whether it's his fault or not, mainly his fault. But the Chelsea defense has been great, and I think it's very likely that they hold Villa to no goals. So we have to figure out if Villa can hold Chelsea to 1. That would be a half-unit win at 1.25, the current number at BetOnline. But we'll see what happens, as there's some ifs, ands, or buts with all that. I think Aston Villa's defense is solid, as I've said, and that's really what's carried them out of the drop relegation fight, which hasn't really been much of a fight as of the past few weeks. But they've never really been even in that discussion after fighting it to the end last season. And that's without Jack Grealish around to create really anything. I think Ollie Watkins' pressing has been awesome. And I think really what you want to think about is what Chelsea's going to do here. They're going to push forward to win for sure. They've shown they've really struggled to score against a block or a shell defense late in matches, trailing against Leicester and against Arsenal most recently. They did win the I guess, league fixture against Leicester in a big way, which is really important to them in putting themselves in the driver's seat for Champions League qualification. But that's still not done. There's still some pressure on that happening. There's some rumors about Chelsea trying to trade players for Harry Kane. So I imagine, there's plenty of motivation on the Chelsea side, and you have to wonder how much there is on Aston Villa. So that's a problem if you're backing Aston Villa. As an underdog player myself, I'm interested in them based on Chelsea's struggles to score. But I think if you're going to play Aston Villa, you want them to score a goal here, and then that will likely put them in a safe type of territory, I would think. If they don't score, then they're really going to hold Chelsea to try to keep them to 1, and that second goal going in is more likely, I think, to go in than the first. I guess if they concede in the 90th minute, they got a good chance to survive stoppage time, but that didn't work so well midweek either. Next on the list is Fulham and Newcastle. I don't have a line on BetOnline, of course, right now, but it looks like, surprisingly to me, actually, Fulham is a favorite. So that's different than I was expecting. I think based on Fulham's inability to score, them as a favorite is not of interest to me whatsoever. I wonder if Newcastle is going to rotate their lineup quite a bit, as they don't really have anything to play for, as they're safe now, sitting in 15th. Fulham would, I guess, like to finish in 18th for prize money's sake, but everyone's going down. All the loanees are going back to their clubs, which that was going to be a concern of mine for Newcastle, with Willock potentially going back to Arsenal, or maybe not playing this match because of maybe the Olympics this summer. I'm not really sure about that sort of commitment, but ultimately Fulham, they're in a position where they're really don't have a lot to do here, and yet they're favored. And it looks like they're a slight favorite, so probably in the quarter goal favorite range right now. But I'm interested in Newcastle based on Newcastle's return to glory as they save themselves from relegation. They've been playing great offense, scoring a lot of goals, giving good sides tests like Man City, and also beating Leicester, which is significant considering the discrepancy or the difference between them and the table. I think I'm looking forward to a Newcastle number if this ever pops up before the kickoff. I'm sure it will, but getting a quarter is interesting because Fulham has been unable to score all season. Newcastle isn't the perfect defense by any means, but I think they can keep Fulham off the scoreboard, and that would make it impossible for Fulham to cover if they're giving a quarter. But even if they score once, I think Newcastle can pierce Fulham, and they're the team that I'm not sure how much they care about this one, where Newcastle is clearly going to be in the league again, but we'll see what happens with their lineup. I'm not sure about goalkeeper because I know Dubravka was nursing an injury in the last match, and I think the backup who had filled in, Carl Darlow, I think was also hurt. So backup keepers they're not going to save you, I think, if that's something you're looking forward to. Next, big one between Leicester and Tottenham. Leicester have done the same thing as they did last season, drifted out of Champions League spot, and now are on the outside looking in due to goal differential. Must win here. If Liverpool win, then I think they're going to be in big trouble unless Aston Villa can do them a favor and beat Chelsea, or I guess Chelsea draw or something like that. Anyway, Leicester need to win or get some help, or maybe both. And Tottenham on the other side, a victory would get them into Europa League, as they have a goal differential, but that would require also an Everton loss. A West Ham loss. Everton are also hanging around there, but are way behind in goal differential. So if they match scores, then it should fall in Tottenham's favor. So there's still a lot of fight here for Tottenham. I think Leicester are the one with more pressure at the moment. This Conference League, I'm not sure if that matters, but Tottenham are used to not being in Europa League or not being in the Champions League. And I'm not sure missing Europa League is that bad. I mean, it's not great, but Leicester really want to be in Champions League, don't want to cost them or fall out of this two seasons in a row, I'm sure, even when winning the FA Cup. And that extra match certainly will add some wear and tear on the legs, and we'll see what happens as they fell behind 2-0 to Chelsea. Maybe that was deserved, maybe it wasn't. Did fight to try to get back in the match, but it wasn't enough. And I think the feeling or the pressure, the nervousness of letting Champions League football slip away for a second straight year is a big problem for them. So when looking at the number, currently Leicester giving a half of a goal at home, Tottenham with all the juice right now, I think as expected. And there is a difference between 1/2 and 1/4. As a draw, you win the full bet on Tottenham, but I think Tottenham can win this match. I think without having my numbers in front of me, I was expecting to pick them here. So I'm surprised by that. Tottenham's got to win this match, try to get to Europa League. Leicester have all the pressure, and Tottenham, I think, can score better. Ajaccio has been great. Had a good goal off the bench. Don't know why he didn't start against Chelsea. That seemed like a mistake. Brendan Rodgers seems to be great some days and really bad others. So he's probably more middle of the road than I think people will say, because he's done so well for the club. But they've been really talented. They've bought really well. So I'm not sure that it's really just him being a great manager. Not sure what to get from the Tottenham manager, to say the least, but I do know that they have really great attacking talent and can score goals, and I'm sure they're trying their best to try to keep Harry Kane around. I don't know, maybe he doesn't play or something like that because of Euros coming up, but I think that's not who he is as a servant to the club as long as he's been there. So Tottenham, very interested in, to me, getting a half, and I'm not really sure how that'll miss my card, even if the lineup's a little bit weaker than I expected. Next is Arsenal giving 3/4 a goal to Brighton. Brighton with a huge win thanks to going against 10 men, but coming back from 2-0 down against Man City was pretty impressive, especially for a team that has been unable to score all season. Arsenal can't catch West Ham for 6th, but they can. They're only a point back, but West Ham, Tottenham, and Everton for 7th place in that Conference League. Maybe that matters. Arsenal, I know, need any sort of extra money to balance their wage bill or wage budget. Supposedly they do have funds to get new players, but we'll see how that all goes. So they should be interested in this match and fighting forward, trying to build under Arteta. I'm not sure that they're great, but they somehow stole it at the end and then got the late goal to cover the spread also, both in stoppage time this past or midweek. Brighton getting 3/4 of the goal. What Brighton wants to do is possess the ball and try to take a lot of shots to try to score because they aren't great at it. I think their defense has been problematic, and Arsenal have a ton of talent. They're really great, speed everywhere, and can perform. I think it's one of those things to see how many Arsenal can get. And I think below a goal with fans in the Arsenal stadium, I'm not sure that's enough for me, though. As an underdog, I think I'm interested in them, certainly as to just saying off the top of my head. We'll look into this one, but ultimately, I'm not sure Arsenal is the fade that they were at the start of the season. And Brighton coming off that big win, who knows how much they've celebrated. Next, Leeds host West Brom. Currently, Leeds giving 1.25 goals. Their defense has been a lot better lately, but I'm not in a position to lay that type of number for Leeds. West Brom already relegated. Not really sure what they're fighting for at this point. Getting more than a goal is interesting, and they played well, played tight, played teams tightly, I guess. But Leeds are going to open them up, and I think this might be one of those volleyball matches, basketball matches, hockey matches, whatever you want to call it, where everyone's trying to go score as many goals as possible, and that's not good as taking the worst team. Sheffield United then host Burnley, currently getting 1/4 goal with all the juice on the Sheffield side, and I think that makes sense. Burnley's a better club staying in the league. Sheffield's been awful, but have played pretty well and have shown they care over the last few weeks since relegation. Burnley, we know what they are. They struggle to score. The long ball offense can work against some teams, doesn't seem to work against the big ones, and their shell of a defense has not been great lately. So in this case, though, they're on the road as a favorite, likely having to dictate how the game will be played, possessing the ball, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure exactly what that'll look like against Sheffield, but Sheffield is in a position where it's really hard to back them without getting more than 1/4 because you need them to win a full unit, and that's hard to see that happening, but certainly could happen. And as an underdog, I'll be looking at them to see what the lineups look like for the last day. I would also think last day of the season, everyone's playing if they can. West Ham then giving 3/4 goal to Southampton, have all the pressure to try to get up the table. Can't catch Leicester City for 5th, but I guess they're in a decent position. If Tottenham win, they lose, they'll fall to 7th due to goal differential. But Everton doesn't look like they can catch them unless they win by like 7 goals or something, or West Ham take a lopsided loss. Southampton's been playing better against the bottom of the table their last few matches now that everything was out the window, but they've been an awful side, and I'm not really interested in backing them. Their defense is problematic. They don't score goals nearly enough to cover for that. Ings has been in and out of the lineup. Maybe he plays here as he might be moving in the summer window, but they're not a side I want to back here, though. It would be nice to kind of be against West Ham, though they look like they're almost guaranteed to be in Europe next season, if they aren't already guaranteed. Next, Liverpool giving 2.25 to Crystal Palace. Palace has been playing better, playing more attacking football lately, and that's resulted in some big score lines, certainly some blowouts. And this is definitely one of those risks because Liverpool have shown all season they've struggled to score against shells and to create any sort of goals. But when on their good days, they can get one, and they get more like their last match against Burnley. They sat back and decided to counter and really had almost no chances the entire second half. And Burnley were about ready to equalize. Then they got one and they got a second. So like that's kind of how things go. And that was after getting a first goal late in the first half that Burnley shouldn't have given up. But they seem to be attacking Goodmanson, and that might be a strategy to find the weaker defender, midfielder who's trying to defend for Crystal Palace and just go at him the whole time. That seems intelligent. Anything over 2 goals, obviously I'm looking at the dog only, but that's a big number for them to cover considering their offense has been so poor. The problem is with Hodgson leaving and basically the whole club's contract up as they're trying to figure out who the new manager is. At least I haven't heard who that is and who they're bringing in for next season. I don't know if I want to get involved here, but I'm sure because I'm not against Liverpool, they'll win on like a last minute goal. Probably another header from Allison. to lose the spread, but do enough. Because they do have some pressure on them as they're sitting in the fourth last Champions League spot with a 4-goal differential over Leicester and as a 2.25 goal favorite. I'm not sure the pressure gets to them too much here, and certainly could result. I get this result based on Leicester underperforming. Next, Man City host Everton, giving a 1.25. Everton fighting to try to get into that last Europa League position. Not sure they can really get there. They're so far behind in goal differential. They can get to Conference League though if they outpoint Tottenham, I guess, tomorrow. Everton's defense has been what they've been known for. Their offense has been kind of a joke. Richarlison with a header goal off of corner that they didn't deserve in the last match was tip of the iceberg, probably, or whatever the analogy would be. Speaks to how poor their offense has been really this entire season. But as an underdog, they've, I think, performed fairly well, did pretty well on the road as well. They've gotten most of their points, I think, this whole season. Man City, who knows what they're doing? Cancelo is suspended after the red card, I believe. So, but he's replaceable. They have so many bodies they can put in there. And they're probably trying to put a good lineup out there as they wait for next weekend's Champions League final. Maybe that means a lot of substitutions, but they only have 3. So we'll see what happens, but they can certainly get that first goal and then that 1.25 of insurance. When it falls to 1/4 of insurance, you're winning only half a bet at that number, and things can go haywire with Man City taking a lead. We'll see what happens. I think Everton are going to be in a position where they also want to push to score goals to win, and that'll put them at a real disadvantage and face the knives of Man City attackers all running in space. Last but not least, Wolves host Manchester United, giving a 1/4. Giving a 1/4 of a goal. Wolves minus 1/4. United dogged is an interesting prospect considering Wolves cannot score. United have not been playing great. Basically, have second place locked up or had it locked up for a while. They are looking forward to the Europa League final to win a trophy, as Ale spoke about to the crowd in the last match. That's coming up midweek. But it's hard to not want to back Manchester United as an underdog, even with their backups, because Wolves, they've, I think, been better lately, but have had 2 kind of poor results back to back. Their offense hasn't really done anything close to enough, maybe getting some chances, but not converting them. And that's been a problem for them all season. They've been a really bad favorite, if off the top of my head. And I've been a decent underdog, especially underdogs against some of the bottom table clubs. This is not one of those. And Manchester United's backups are going to be really talented. And I'm sure Bruno Fernandes seems to play every match, and there seems to be a lot of people that will play in this one. So seeing them a 1/4 goal underdog, I'm going to be looking very intently at that lineup and potentially trying to find what the squad list looks like to see potentially who's going to be missing out, because that United dogged is wild. So that's it for England. That's 18 minutes. Going to go through France now as we try to wrap up the rest of the season. I've already done, you can check yesterday's YouTube live going through the other matches. But so Ligue 1. So Lille, PSG, Monaco all have a chance to win the title. Great day. It should be really fun to watch. But jumping right into the leagues and the matches. So Lille, the first match, I guess they're all at the same time, so whatever. But Lille giving a 1.5 goals on the road at Angers. So Angers have been playing pretty poorly, came back from the dead, trailing 2-0 to equalize, and then gave up a stoppage time penalty on VAR review to Olympique Marseille last weekend. Was probably a brutal ending to them. Maybe they didn't deserve that based on how things started. But Angers, with their coach retiring, or I guess maybe not retiring, but being removed from his position or leaving the club after 10 years, should be a pretty important day, emotional day. And I want to say that they got a fight in their hands, hosting the eventual champion. Lille, if they win, they go through. And Lille are a counterattacking side that want to play defense. So anytime they're trying to lay a big number like this, where they have to win by multiple goals, I want to look the other way. What I do sort of wonder, though, is if Lille, who looked really nervous last weekend against Saint Etienne, who have been playing better, certainly better than Angers have, but it took them forever and Lille never ended up scoring. I think that same pressure is only going to be worse on Lille, because they know that if they get that first goal Angers are pretty unlikely to tie them, and they're going to be fresh home to win the title. But giving a goal and a half, a single goal victory is enough for Angers to cover the spread. And that's a number that in an emotional day where Lille's going to be really nervous and potentially sitting back and trying to defend as soon as they take a lead and maybe not pushing for that second goal because they're so scared about trying to hang on to win that game. And if Angers score, Lille getting 3 seems really unlikely. So not sure that you can expect Angers to score here, unfortunately, but that's a side where I think nerves for a smaller club like Lille trying to kind of dethrone the champion PSG, but also slay the dragon is a pretty big deal, and that's something emotionally to consider here. Next, our PSG visit Brest, giving 2 goals. Brest, I believe, have fallen into the relegation spat. They're only 1 point above the playoff spot with Nantes, which pretty competitive. All these clubs above 40 points, which is like the safety number in all the other leagues. So good on France for being as competitive as it has been this season. It's been really fun to watch. But Brest have been playing really poorly. They've been getting some strong lines that they're losing against the spread like all the time. And now they're getting 2 goals at home, all the juice on their side, but still big number to play against PSG, who had to play midweek, beating Montpellier or beating Monaco in the French Coupe. It's hard because I like going against PSG because they look very uninspired a lot of times. They can blow out teams, especially when they're up a man for 80 minutes of a match, like they were last weekend off a joke red card early. They also can punish Monaco defender for making a mistake. And once they go up 1, they're going to get another goal with counterattacking. So if you're going to back Brest here, you need them to score. That's probably unlikely. So if they're not going to score, then you need to keep PSG to 2 goals or less. And that's hard to do, especially because if Brest is starting to play with some pressure and need to get some points, they might push forward a little bit more than they should. And any sort of space, PSG are so much better and have so much talent on the global stage, way better than Liga Brest can offer. Next, Lens host Monaco, getting a full goal right now. All the juice on the Lens side. Lens have been great, had an awesome season, bought some good players, and have performed really well, especially coming up from Ligue 2. It's one of those scenarios for Monaco where they think they have a chance and I guess could win and potentially get some help, but need Lille and PSG to lose and then somehow win some tiebreakers. I don't know that's necessarily what they're looking at, but they want to win so that Lyon can catch them for the 3rd spot, which I believe is for Champions League. So that's important. I'm not sure exactly what to see from that one, but Monaco with the midweek match played a bunch of their good players. So wouldn't really expect them to, so the rest advantages there for Lens, but in Lens' case, they're sitting in 6th, 3 points behind Marseille, 6 points behind goal differential. If that's a tiebreaker, I probably should check that. And only 1 point ahead of Rennes. But if they win, Marseille lose, they need to win by a lot against Monaco. That seems pretty unlikely. Lens have had a really good season, though, and they certainly have something to play for with the idea they could potentially get into that Conference League spot or Europa League if they could somehow win a tiebreaker against Marseille, who loses. So that's interesting to me because Lens have been playing really well, but Monaco are real good at scoring goals. They've shown, especially against the weaker sides. I don't know that Lens coming up from League 2 is really that great compared to their league position. So potentially buying into an overpriced team is not something I want to be doing right now. Last match of the season, but I do like that they have something to play for, and getting a full goal of insurance is always a nice thing to have. At 3/4 of a goal, I probably avoid it, but at +1, I'm still interested. Lyon then host Nice, giving 2 goals. Big number that they laid last weekend as well, and fell behind 1-0 off a ridiculous early goal, but still blasted Nice is a much better side that have a lot more history, but have defensive problems that I thought fixed or at least made better. They've not been playing well lately. 2 wins, 3 losses last 5. And I think the loss last weekend was pretty disappointing as I backed them. Nice have, Guiri, who's a Lyon loanee or maybe permanent transfer. At least he came from Lyon. they have some attackers. They have decent defenders now that they got a bunch of loanees in to kind of shore up their center backs. And that's been better. Getting 2 goals is a huge number. Lyon can certainly score, though. And once they get that first one, it's almost guaranteed they're getting a second. Can Nice score? I think so. Lyon have shown that their defense will make some mistakes from time to time, to say the least. Or their goalie will punch someone in the head and give up a penalty. Crazy. But I think in one of those scenarios where Nice is a good side for getting 2 goals, going to look at this lineup and make it really hard for me to avoid. Next, Metz then host Marseille, getting half of a goal. All the juice on the Metz side, so this might fall to a quarter. Marseille still have something to play for, and they're going to be better in the open type of format that Metz have been playing. Metz have not been performing very well the last few weeks. Were close, had a late equalizer, and then conceded another goal against, I believe, Lorient last weekend. Disappointing as a backer, but it is what it is. I think Marseille have been really disappointing, but this is a matchup where Arkadiusz Milik, who had a hat trick last week in space, is really scary. Marseille in space is pretty scary with Florian Thauvin about to leave for Mexico. I think it's one of those scenarios where Metz have to score to keep up with Marseille, and that's a big ask, I think, based on how Metz have been playing and really how they've overplayed their talent this entire season. Especially if it falls to a quarter. Nantes then host Montpellier, not given a full goal with all the juice on their side, so it might even be climbing. Montpellier have been getting some kind of weird lines lately, have been showing up for some matches, not showing up for others. Nantes are trying to fight out of that last position relegation playoff spot, which I don't think damns anybody really, but it's certainly something that they want to improve upon. Must improve upon, I'm sure, is something they're thinking of. But 1 point behind Brest, 1 point behind Lorient. Brest, we've already discussed going against PSG. Lorient we'll get to in a little bit. But Nantes with 4 straight wins in a row to get them in position to potentially climb out of relegation. Passing, leaving Nîmes in the dust, really is pretty impressive. I'm not sure that they're that talented or that good, but they're on a roll. Certainly you can ask about how much Montpellier cares about this match as their managers leaving the end of the season, and who knows who's coming in, but they've got a great attack. Defense can certainly struggle from time to time, but as a big number, getting a full goal of insurance, it's a huge number, especially getting odds right now. So that's likely going to close 1.25, and I'll be looking at that one. A lot of relegation pressure, not what you want at the bottom of the table. It seems like top of the table pressure is not as big of a deal, but certainly the bad teams that can get to them. Next, Rennes host Bordeaux, giving a quarter of a goal with all the juice on the Bordeaux side. It looks like that's going to be Pick'em, just to make sure that Bordeaux is not really in relegation spat. Well, they're only 2 points ahead of Nantes. But Rennes at 42 as well. I mean, I think if both of these teams draw here, they might agree to a 0-0, even though I'm sure that's definitely not allowed. If that sort of happened, that'd keep them so that only Nantes could tie them. And on goal differential, Bordeaux is worse than Nantes. If they won, Rennes is about the same. That's interesting. So I'm not sure what to expect here, really, with kind of, but Bordeaux with major wage issues, bankruptcy potential. That's scary. Not being able to pay your players is a big issue. I think Bordeaux are the more storied club, but Rennes have been playing really well. Got screwed by the red card last weekend at PSG, but had a great performance before that, or like run of performances. It was early against PSG, so hard to say about that match. But ultimately, I think if Rennes move to some sort of underdog here based on where the juice looks, I'm interested, but it likely closes Pick'em, and I don't think I want to back anybody who's not catching any sort of candy here. Next, Rennes host Nîmes, currently giving a goal and a quarter with 1,000,000% juice, so likely going to be 1.5 soon. Nîmes, sad story because they played pretty well after they changed managers, deserve better, but are going down to Ligue 2. Rennes are in a position where they're fighting and probably think that they have a mathematical chance for that 6th. I mean, they're 1 point behind Lens for that 6th spot, but I don't know that they get much further. I guess that's a Conference League spot potentially, so maybe that's of interest to them. I'm not sure. Certainly an easier draw here than Lens with Monaco, but Rennes have been really good at winning close games and have kind of been under the radar, playing teams well. I think trying to smash Nîmes is going to be a little bit more of a task for them to try to accomplish. But also Nîmes getting blasted last weekend against Lyon isn't great and shows some of the defensive frailties. So I'm not sure. I probably should stay far away from that one. Just the 92nd minute goal to lose 2-0 is going to be too tough for me to take, or probably even 3-1 in that scenario. Saint Etienne then host Dijon, giving a goal and a half. Dijon way down. Saint Etienne has been playing a lot better than their form. All the way up to 11th is pretty good form, but that table's been moving around like crazy because everyone's so close. And last but not least, Strasbourg, quarter goal favorite to Lorient right now with all the juice on the Lorient side. So this is a relegation spat. Strasbourg with that big win last weekend to pull them to out of the drop zone, 1 point ahead of Nantes. Lorient also there, 1 point ahead of Nantes. So if Nantes win, neither of these teams are safe. They'll be jumped if they draw. Lorient with a much worse goal differential is a scary, scary thing. Brest up there is likely losing to PSG, though, so I'm not sure that there's too much for those teams to worry about if they can get a point. But that's still something to think about. Lorient, I think, have been better than where their standing has been, and it's an accomplishment to kind of pull themselves out of the drop zone going into the final day. But they've certainly got to be worried about Nantes. Winning 3 out of the last 4 is pretty impressive. Strasbourg's been not great, though, to say the least. So I'm interested in Lorient as an underdog, but I think it's going to probably close pick them, and there's less for me to do there. So that's the last final match day of the season for English Premier League and also for France. I am the real_G Warner on Twitter. Please throw some comments that way or subscribe on here. I'm trying to get as much on here as possible because Periscope died. But we'll be doing Euro 2020 previews. Looking forward to that coming up. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys soon.